You're standing in a candlelit cathedral, drowning in gold and incense. Your gown weighs more than you do. The air smells like roses and damp stone. And all eyes are on you, not because you're royalty, not yet, but because you're radiant, trembling, and unmistakably smitten. You are Joanna of Castile, 17 years old, daughter of the formidable Isabella and Ferdinand, and your life is about to be sealed to a man with a smile so dazzling. It probably deserves its own choir. You're marrying Philip the Handsome. That's not just his nickname. People call him that like it's an official title. You want this, you want him. You're not one of those tragic princesses forced to marry some gray-bearded duke with liver spots and a bad temper. No, you got lucky, or so it seems. Enjoying this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps a lot. And you won't miss any of the fascinating stories coming next. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. The kiss is polite, but later, when the feast ends and the torches flicker lower, he looks at you in a way that turns your spine into silk. It's not love yet. Maybe it's something raw, louder than logic, a craving. You mistake it for forever. And when he pulls you aside from the courtiers in the ceremony, you see a glimpse of the man behind the prince, charismatic, commanding, and already calculating. The truth is, you're marrying into a storm, and no one's told you the weather report. At first, things are golden. Literally, Burgundy, his territory, is lush and rich and soaked in tapestries. You're not just a princess now. You're a duchess, treated like a rose dipped in silver. But there's one problem. Philip doesn't just have eyes for you. Actually, he doesn't have just one of anything when it comes to women. The mistresses come quietly, whispered laughter behind curtains, servants who won't meet your gaze, glances exchanged at court dinners. You try to ignore it. You're a queen in training. You're supposed to be composed, serene, regal, not shaking in rage because your husband just gave his favorite ring to some milkmaid with dimples. But rage has a way of eroding decorum, and you are the daughter of Isabella. You don't take betrayal lightly. The Castilian blood in you burns hotter than anyone anticipated, especially for a girl whose name means God is gracious. One night, you catch him. Not a rumor, not a suspicion. Him. With her, and something snaps. You fly at him. Not with tears, but with fists. And you don't stop yelling until the guards are pulling you away, and the walls echo your name. Juana? Juana. It's the first time someone calls you mad. Not in jest, not in love, just mad. Historians still argue whether this was the moment the legend began, when grief, obsession, and royal scandal congealed into the myth of Juana la Loca. But you don't feel crazy. You feel betrayed, humiliated, and heartbreakingly human. Still, you stay, because what else can you do? You're bound to him by more than vows. This is politics, not poetry. Your mother scolds you in letters. Your father offers no sympathy. You must endure. You must rule beside him. Appearances matter more than sanity. So you keep walking beside Philip, hand in hand, even when he doesn't reach back. By the time your first child is born, you're already exhausted. He barely visits your chambers anymore unless duty calls. But when little Eleanor arrives, tiny, wrinkled, perfect, you light up again. She's yours, untainted, pure, a piece of love that hasn't yet learned to lie. And then there's more. Isabella, then Charles. A royal brood begins. Philip looks proud when it suits him, kisses you in public like nothing's wrong. But behind closed doors, the gap between you widens like cracked stone. You start watching the windows when he's away, listening to footsteps in the night, clutching your pillow like it might disappear. The court chuckles at your suspicion. Whispers grow louder. She's unstable. She's intense. She's not fit to rule. But you hold fast. You love him. And that love, whether divine or diseased roots, deeper the more he pulls away. It makes you irrational. It makes you furious. But mostly, it makes you his. There's a small scandal when you allegedly cut the hair of one of his lovers while she slept. Just a little trim. Just a warning. It may not be true, but people believe it easily, because by now, your eyes are too wide, your laughter too sharp. You've become that woman at court, the one people pity behind fans and fear behind doors. Philip, he thrives in the attention. He calls you passionate. He tells others it's flattering in a twisted, royal way. But you see it. The boredom behind his compliments, the eye rolls when you enter the room, the coldness where warmth used to live. Still, you chase his affection like a flame, even as it burns everything you are. One chilly morning, a new affair comes to light, and this time, this one cuts differently. It's not the servant girls. It's not fleeting. This woman has power. She has ambition, and she might even love him back. You stop eating. You stop speaking. You write letters in ink so hard you tear the page. The palace staff starts stepping lighter around you. The children notice, but you don't care. You've been made a ghost in your own marriage, and ghosts don't have to smile. Then he falls ill, a sudden fever, a chill that won't leave. They say it's typhoid, or maybe something darker. You sit by his bedside every moment, your face stiff, your hands clenched. You don't cry when Philip dies. You stare, you breathe, you blink a little slower, but no tears fall. Everyone watches for your collapse, your scream. Your fainting spells something, but you're far too quiet, still, hollowed out, as if someone's already embalmed you. Too, he lies there, cold and perfect, like marble that once loved you. You run your fingers down his jaw, the one that kissed so many others. You tell yourself it doesn't matter now. They're gone. He's yours again, entirely, forever. A few nobles attempt to console you. You'll marry again. One says, too cheerily. Another whispers about alliances, dowries. Opportunities like your husband's still body is just a vacancy waiting to be filled. You don't answer. You're too busy deciding that he's not going anywhere, because if you let go, you'll vanish too. You order his body not to be buried. You say it calmly, like someone planning tea. He'll be moved, certainly, but not interred. There's an appropriate tomb. Yes, but not yet. Not until you've found the right spot, the right monastery, the right monks, the right mood. That's what you say, but really, you can't imagine him beneath the ground, not where you can't reach him. The court is stunned. The church frowns. Your advisors shuffle papers nervously. No one dares to say it. Not to your face. But they're all thinking it she's truly gone mad now. And still, no one stops you. You have his coffin sealed carefully, elaborately. You have candles lit day and night. You post guards at the door. But you're the one who sits there most. Your ladies in waiting rotate, pretending this is fine. They pretend you smell like rose oil, not decay, but there's only so much perfume can do. People say you kiss the coffin when you think no one's looking. Others claim they've heard you speaking to it, singing lullabies, arguing with it. One servant swears you opened it once at night, just to see his face again, just to remember. You never confirm or deny any of it. You're too busy being loyal. Historians still argue whether you truly believed he was alive inside, or whether you simply wished it hard enough to make it feel true. One letter from a noblewoman reads, "The queen sleeps beside the corpse as though it were her husband still. She waits for him to wake." Another calls you the widow bride. The names pile up like autumn leaves: mad woman, mourner, heretic, enchantress. You prefer just wife. There's something disturbingly steady about grief like this. You move with purpose, you eat little, but you walk the halls with dignity. You hold your children, not often, but when you do, it's tightly. They smell like him. They bear his eyes, his lips, his sharpness, and yet you never let them near the coffin. That's yours, your secret, your sanctuary, your shrine. Eventually, you demand the coffin be moved to Granada. You claim it's for spiritual reasons, a pilgrimage, a queen's holy duty, but really, it's the itch to keep him close. The idea that maybe if you just keep going, you'll find a place where the ache goes quiet. And so the journey begins. You travel across Spain like a funeral procession from a fever dream. The coffin rides with you in a velvet-draped cart, guarded day and night. No woman is allowed near it, not even nuns. You're convinced they'll steal him, or worse, fall in love with him the way you did. You don't care if that sounds absurd. You've seen what women do for him. Even now, in death, his legend lingers like smoke. The roads are cold, the nights colder, the candles are always lit. You carry them yourself sometimes, shielding the flame with your bare hand against the wind, as if your body could protect him better than the coffin does. Rain pours, oxen stumble, attendants grow ill, but you keep going. At one monastery, you demand a halt. The monks agree tentatively. They've heard rumors. Still, they open their doors. You stay in the chapel. You whisper prayers. You sleep beside the coffin. And then, in the middle of the night, you have it opened, just for a moment, just to be sure. What you see, no one really knows. Maybe he still looks beautiful to you. Maybe you see the mold, the fading of skin, the quiet decomposition of a love too long preserved. But you don't scream. You don't flee. You kiss his hand. Someone claims. Another says you weep, but still, silently. By morning, you're gone. The monks are left pale and breathless. One writes in his journal she has become a ghost who walks with death and calls it devotion. You travel on, somewhere along the road. Your ladies-in-waiting stop speaking to you unless spoken to. A few leave. One prays openly that you're healed. Another simply cries and won't say why. You don't notice. Or maybe you do and just don't care. You're far too focused on the road ahead, the bumps in the path, the rattle of wheels and wood and memory. Meanwhile, the Spanish court is unraveling behind your back. Your father Ferdinand hears the stories. He's not surprised. You were always too emotional, too intense, too much like your mother without the discipline. He makes a decision, and it's not in your favor. He wants the throne for himself, and later, for your son Charles, but not for you. Never for you. A queen who dines with corpses cannot command armies or councils. That's what they say. That's what he says. But you don't care about politics anymore. Or maybe you never really did. You're on a different path now, one lined with candle wax, wind, and ghost light. You reach Granada eventually, but there's no comfort there. Just more stone, more silence, more strangers watching you with the kind of pity that feels like poison. They beg you to bury him. You say no. You're not ready. You'll never be ready. The nights grow longer, and the silence between your thoughts grows louder. In Granada, they expect you to bury him. That's what widows do. That's what queens must do. They make polite suggestions, priests with their soft voices, nobles with their quiet urgency. It's time, Your Majesty. He deserves rest. The soul must be released, but you're not listening. You're brushing dust off the edge of his coffin and humming softly under your breath. He doesn't deserve to be alone, not underground, not in some cold marble prison away from your touch. He wasn't perfect in life, but in death, he's become yours again, untouchable, uncheating, silent. Isn't that what love is? In the end, eternal loyalty, even when the object of it stops answering back. You visit him every morning before breakfast. You sit beside him after supper. You tell him things how the weather is, what the children are doing, how that one priest keeps giving you side-eye during Mass. You joke that Philip never liked priests anyway. You chuckle to yourself. You whisper your secrets. Some days, the coffin smells like cedar and candle wax. Other days, not so much. But your nose has adjusted. Your heart's adjusted more. You don't sleep much. Just a few hours a night, curled up in a chair or on a velvet mat near his side. You insist his chamber be kept warm. You ask for fresh flowers daily. You think it helps. Even if it doesn't, the ritual matters. It reminds you that you're not alone. But of course, you're alone. Everyone you love is either frightened of you, tired of waiting, or quietly scheming. Your father has declared you mentally unfit to rule Castile. The paperwork is already in motion. He'll protect your crown, your people, your legacy, all while locking you out of every decision. You're still the queen in title, but now you're just a story being written by men in other rooms. They send you messages wrapped in velvet, letters edged with concern, requests to bury him, pleas to return to court. You stack them beside the coffin and pretend they don't exist. One afternoon, a courier is brave or foolish enough to press the issue. Your Majesty, he says carefully, bowing so low you think he might break his own ribs. His Highness must be committed to sacred ground. He has waited too long. This display may disturb the faithful. You smile at him so sweetly it stings. Then let the faithful close their eyes. You reply, he does not return. Historians still argue whether you truly believe Philip would rise again. Some say you thought God would restore him to life if your devotion burned long enough. Others suggest you were simply terrified of forgetting, of letting grief dissolve memory like paper in rain. Maybe you just didn't trust the world to care for him the way you did. One fringe account claims you had a glass viewing panel installed on the coffin's lid, that you stared at his face until the features blurred, that you sometimes fell asleep with your hand resting over his heart, as if waiting for it to beat. There's no proof, but somehow, no one doubts it. And then comes the day you open the coffin again. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe the smell shifts, just enough to shake something loose in you. Or maybe it's a test to see how far your love can stretch. You unseal the lid. The air hisses. Your ladies gasp and look away. One vomits into her sleeve. Another faints. You don't blink. You look down at him, your handsome prince, now stained and softened by time. His skin no longer marble smooth. His hair less golden, more shadowed, but still undeniably him. You reach down, lift one cold hand, and kiss the ring still on his finger. You whisper something just for him. Then you close the lid again. You ask the room to be cleaned. You order fresh incense, and life continues. But the world around you moves on without asking. Your father arrives in Granada, not with empathy, but with authority. His beard is grayer than you remember. His eyes are sharp. His words are law. He tells you gently, officially, that you are to be moved. For your health, for your safety, for the stability of Spain. You see through the velvet words. He wants power. He wants Philip buried, and he wants you out of the way. You refuse, of course. You argue. You scream. You weep. And then you go silent. They take the coffin. They try to trick you with a decoy, thinking you'll forget, but you don't. You know the difference. You demand the real one. You scream his name in the night like a banshee calling a storm. In the end, they give it back. Not because you won, but because they're terrified of what you might do if you lose him entirely. Your father doesn't wait. He declares you mentally unfit. He sends guards. You're escorted, not led to Tordesillas, an old, quiet convent on the Duero River. It becomes your prison. Philip's coffin goes with you. The nuns are kind, or at least they try to be. But you frighten them. You walk the halls at odd hours. You talk to no one. Sometimes they hear you singing to the coffin through the walls. The candle remains lit. You don't sit on a throne anymore. You sit beside wood and velvet and silence. But you're still a queen. In your mind, a widow queen, a faithful queen, a forgotten queen. The letters stop arriving. The world has decided it's had enough of your story. But you're just getting started. You wake up in Tordesillas, but every morning feels like you're still on the road. The stone floor is colder here, the ceiling lower. The walls don't echo your voice the way they used to in royal palaces, but you keep whispering anyway, to Philip, to the candle, to no one. The coffin has a permanent place in the small chapel adjacent to your room. You insisted. It faces east, as if the sunrise might eventually stir him. You still bring fresh flowers. The nuns replace them when they wilt. You never ask where they find roses in winter, and they never say. Outside, the world is spinning. Kings die. Queens are crowned. Empires expand and bleed. But you don't move. You sit beside the same box of wood and velvet, counting the dust motes in the morning light like they're prayers. At first, the town whispers, La Reina Loca is here. Children dare each other to peek at the convent walls. Merchants sell rosaries with your name. Some believe you're possessed. Others believe you're holy. And then they stop caring. The years begin to pile. Once in a while, someone visits, a bishop, a noble cousin, a diplomat with a handkerchief ready. They all try to speak carefully, like they're holding glass in their mouths. You nod politely. You respond when needed, but your eyes always drift back to the coffin in the corner. You're not trying to be rude. It's just that no one else in the room ever mattered quite as much. Charles comes, once, your son, tall, stoic, already shaped by power. He's not a boy anymore. He's a king in the making. You see it in the way he stands not straight, but firm, like the weight of Europe already sits on his shoulders. He kneels before you, and for a moment, your fingers find his cheek like they used to, but he stiffens. He calls you Madre in the formal way, not the warm one. You ask if he wants to see his father. He doesn't answer. Instead, he talks about politics, Castile, the empire, your legacy. He tells you that he needs to be co-monarch. He says it's not safe for you to rule alone. You laugh not bitterly, but softly. You haven't ruled anything in years, not even your own bedtime. He speaks with more steel than your father ever did. He promises to keep you safe, to protect your name, to guard your soul. Then he signs the papers. You're still Queen Joanna of Castile on parchment, but only there. Historians still debate whether you understood what he did that day, whether you recognized the pattern your father locked you away to claim your throne, and now your son gently nails the same door shut. But the truth is, you saw it coming before he even arrived. You just didn't stop him. Why would you? You have everything you need right here. Your memories, your candle, your coffin. You've built a kingdom out of mourning. The days stretch long, wrapped in the quiet routine of a life without rule. You walk the convent gardens when allowed. You hum to yourself. Some days you speak, other days not at all. The nuns say you recite prayers in your sleep. They say you ask Philip questions while stirring your soup. One time, you burst into song during Mass and wouldn't stop until the priest left. And sometimes rarely you smile, especially when you think no one's watching. You write letters. Most are never sent. You press them to your lips before sealing them. Some are for Philip, some for your daughters, some for no one. The ink always smudges near the end. You ask for music now and then, a violin, a hymn. Once, you request a Moorish lullaby you remember from childhood. The sound fills the convent like perfume. The nuns don't understand the words, but they don't ask. A guard once said you danced barefoot at midnight. He was dismissed the next day. One winter, the river Duero floods. The town panics. The convent shudders with cold. You're moved temporarily to the cellar. The coffin comes with you. You place it gently on a raised platform and sit beside it, candle trembling. The guards suggest leaving it behind. You stare at them until they stop talking. When the waters recede, you return to your room and resume your vigil as if nothing happened. Decades pass like drifting smoke. You don't count the years anymore. Someone else does that for you. You hear that Charles is now Holy Roman Emperor, that your daughter Eleanor is Queen of France, that your other daughter, Catherine, is Queen of Portugal. You nod. You smile. You ask if any of them have written. The maid hesitates. You already know the answer. Some claim you once asked the nuns to find you a new dress, one stitched in gold, with velvet sleeves. When they asked why, you said, "I want to look nice when he wakes up." They never brought the dress. There's a strange peace in your madness, a rhythm, a steadiness that no one else can understand. You've turned grief into ritual, pain into practice. You're no longer queen of a nation, but of your own stubborn little empire, a place where time never moves and love never dies. One of the newer nuns, young and still soft-hearted, once asked why you keep the coffin here. You blinked. You looked up at her, "So he doesn't forget me." You said, "She never asked again." And perhaps that's the saddest part of all, not that you lost him, but that you were so sure he could be the one to forget you. You grow thinner, slower. You forget names, then faces. Sometimes you forget the year, but you never forget him, not even once. Now, the walls of Tordesillas know your footsteps better than your own family does. You no longer ask for visitors. You rarely speak unless someone asks you a question, and even then, you often answer as if you're somewhere else, years ago, speaking to someone long dead. But your memory isn't entirely gone. It's just selective. You remember the sound of Philip's laugh, not the soft one, the sharp one, when he was amused at someone else's expense. You remember how he smelled after riding sweat, leather, and pride. You remember how his hands never stayed still, even when his mouth did. Those memories are carved deeper than any title, any crown, any treaty. The guards are new now. The ones who knew your name without looking at documents are gone, buried under headstones you'll never see. Their replacements whisper about you like your folklore, a living ghost, the queen of silence, the bride of the coffin. Some fear you, others pity you. One sings when he thinks you're asleep. You listen from behind the curtain, head resting on velvet, and pretend he's Philip, just for a little while. There's a bird that visits your window every morning. A robin, maybe. You name him Felipe. You feed him crumbs and talk to him in whispers. He never answers, but at least he stays. Sometimes the coffin creaks. You're not sure whether it's the wood, the temperature, or your own ears inventing echoes. You ask the maid to oil the hinges. Just in case, she obeys without question. You still insist the candle stays lit. One night, it goes out. You wake up gasping. The maid says it was just a draft, but you know better. It was a warning. You light it again yourself, with trembling hands, whispering an apology to the dark, not to God, to Him, for letting the flame die, even for a moment. Historians still debate whether this obsessive flamekeeping was symbolic or delusional. Some believe it represented your refusal to let go of power, of memory, of control. Others say it was the last thread connecting you to the world, a simple flicker of light to remind you that life hadn't forgotten you yet. You don't care what they say. You care that the wax is melting evenly, that the wick is trimmed, that he can see you. Your father dies. You don't react. Charles returns now, an emperor, towering over you like a statue carved in duty. He visits rarely, speaks formally, but there's a moment, just one, where he softens. He notices your hands, how thin they've become, how your wedding ring still clings to your finger like it's fused there. He offers to move you, a palace, maybe, a warmer place. You refuse. He nods, and then leaves again. The days blur, some pass in silence, others in strange lucidity. You ask for your daughters. You forget which ones are still alive. You hum songs no one else remembers. You tell a nun to write a letter to a French courtier who's been dead for decades. She writes it anyway. You're not always mad, just shifted, somewhere between worlds, like your feet are still walking that endless road between Burgos and Granada, candle in one hand, coffin in tow. The nuns stop trying to make you talk. They let you be a silent figure moving through shadow and memory. They grow used to the scent of lavender, the flicker of candles, the occasional laugh that has no source. Sometimes you dream of Philip walking in. He's beautiful again, young, smiling, no mistresses, no cruelty, just the man you fell in love with, the way your 17-year-old self saw him glowing and full of promise. He kisses your hand. You wake up with tears on your pillow. One morning, you forget his name. Not for long, just a minute. It scares you more than all the whispered diagnoses, more than all the locked doors. You write it down 3 times on the edge of your bedsheet with charcoal, just in case. Philip, Philip, Philip. There's a mirror in your room, but you no longer use it. The woman in the glass doesn't look like a queen, or a wife, or even a mother. She looks like someone waiting to dissolve. You pray, but not always to God. You speak to Philip like he's behind you, or beneath you, or still breathing, just softly enough that only you can hear it. And in a way, he is. Because the coffin has been beside you for over 30 years, 3 decades of dreams, silence, whispers, and unwavering devotion. You've outlived courtiers, lovers, enemies, and friends. You've outlived usefulness. You've outlived sense. But you haven't outlived love. Not the kind you cling to with both hands, even when everyone else tells you it's time to let go. They say that grief has stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. You skipped the last one and circled back to the first, again and again. You hear footsteps now, slower than before, yours, the shuffle of worn shoes on stone, the rhythm of an old queen pacing a small room, candle in hand, coffin always within reach. Outside, kingdoms rise and fall. Your son becomes a legend. Your name becomes a whisper. But within these walls, time folds into itself. You're still 17, still waiting, still hoping that love is heavier than death. Winter returns to Tordesillas like a blanket someone forgot to warm. The river slows, the walls stiffen with frost, the convent quiets even more, which you didn't think was possible. The silence isn't empty, it's full of echoes you recognize like lullabies, the scrape of sandals, the creak of the chapel door, the soft, eternal shuffle of your own feet, making the same journey from bed to coffin to candle and back again. You're slower now. The climb from chair to floor takes effort. Your hands shake when they pour tea. You've begun forgetting what day it is, but you still know when dusk falls. That's when the candle must be lit. Always. And still, after everything, you don't ask for anyone. No priests, no daughters, no sons, not even the nuns. Just the candle, just the coffin. They've stopped trying to clean the room when you're not looking. You used to grow furious, screaming that someone moved the chair half an inch to the left, or that the sheet over the coffin was creased wrong. But now, you don't scream. You simply stare, and that's somehow worse. One afternoon, the candle flickers for hours before going out on its own. You don't relight it, not immediately. You just sit there, staring into the darkness where the flame used to be, your face calm in a way that makes the younger nuns whisper in the corridor again. She's finally accepted it, one says. She's let him go. You don't correct her. You're tired, and you're not done yet. In that stillness, you remember things no one has asked you about in years. The first time Philip kissed you behind the velvet curtain at court, the taste of figs in Bruges, the night you gave birth in silence so no one would hear your screams, the time he disappeared for 3 days and came back with the smell of someone else's perfume clinging to his collar, and how you still kissed him anyway. Historians still argue whether your mind was truly gone, or if you simply chose a reality where grief made more sense than power ever did, one where devotion was a palace and memory a throne, because you ruled, in your own strange way, not over land, not over people, but over time, and grief obeyed you. They bring word that your son Charles has abdicated. He's retiring to a monastery. He, too, is tired. The world's weight has carved its mark on him, just like it did you, but his mark was visible. Yours, hidden beneath every quiet, strange day in this forgotten corner of the world. They ask if you'd like to see him. You say no, because you've seen enough kings, and you've waited long enough. The candle remains dark that night. The next morning, the sun rises just like always. Birds chirp. The Duero glimmers faintly outside your window. But you don't rise. You're still in bed, eyes closed, hands folded over a letter you never finished writing. The nuns find you just before morning prayers. You look peaceful. No final scream. No dramatic gasp. Just stillness. There's hesitation before they open the coffin chamber. The room is unchanged. The air is quiet. The wax is hardened. And there, beside the velvet-draped coffin, they place you. For the first time in 39 years, you're not waiting anymore. They bury you together, at last. Philip the Handsome and Joanna the Mad, husband and wife, king and queen, side by side. Though you'd argue quietly, of course, that you'd always been together. He just hadn't noticed. They write your name on the tomb in stone, plainly, without flair, just Juana I of Castile, but they'll never say it without a hint of a shiver. You became a story half love, half legend, half warning. That's too many halves. But you never cared about symmetry. And now, the candle is finally out. You're still here, aren't you? Good. Let's slow down together now. Take a breath. Let the room soften. Let the echo of footsteps fade from your ears. There are no more corridors to pace, no more letters to write, no more candles to guard, just a story, and it's over now. Maybe you felt sorry for Joanna, trapped in love, in madness, in cold halls and colder politics. Maybe you think she lost herself, or maybe, just maybe, she clung harder than most people are brave enough to. After all, isn't love real, raw, unshakable love just a kind of madness we've all agreed to romanticize? She was too human for her crown, too crowned to be allowed to be human, and so they locked her up, called her mad, whispered stories, but she outlived them all, outloved them, too. She waited, for him, for peace, for the end. And maybe, if you're still listening, part of you understands why. Let the candle fade in your imagination now. Let the scent of old roses, wax, and wood slip away from the air around you. Let the night take back the silence. She's gone, but the story lingers, and that's the magic of history, isn't it? It never truly leaves. Thank you for listening. I'll leave you here, just outside that stone door. We're always saying goodbye.